So, hello everybody. I'm back. It only took me about a month this time, which is pretty good for me. I just want to say thank you to everybody who shared my last video with a friend, because as of filming this, it's currently sitting at 210,000 views, which is pretty wild. Like David, I'm actually going to get paid by AdSense this month, which hasn't happened in a while.
Woo.
One morning, I woke up, and I don't know why I remembered this. I have no clue why, but I literally woke up out of a dead sleep and just thought about this story I wrote when I was 13 years old. And I never told like anybody about it because I was so ashamed of it because, and I'll, tease everybody now because we're gonna get there, I wrote a kissing scene in it. There is a kissing scene in it, and not
a diary, but an actual story.
No, an actual story, yeah, like
Okay.
a book. I remember every time I got a new computer, as I would grow up, I would think about deleting the file because I was so ashamed of it. Like, guys, I was so embarrassed by this file. Luckily, for all of us now, I never deleted it. I haven't thought about this file or this story in years, and I just remembered out of nowhere that this thing existed. I went to my old hard drive, and I found it. We're gonna read what I wrote when I was 13. This file was created April 3rd, 2011, which means I was 13 and I was still a few months away from my 14th birthday. So I was like solidly 13 when I wrote this. The Word document is 14 pages, but I'm not gonna read 14 pages of a Word document like that. So I'm gonna pick out the good stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remember that this is art. This is literature, David.
Right.
We need to treat this with respect and the dignity it deserves as a work of art. So I
For
hope
all people kind.
all people kind. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you a document called My Story.
Can you read with those on?
Yeah, actually no, I don't think I can read with these on. This is called Tilly, Chapter 1. I wasn't meant to be born in a noble family. I can't sing, I can't play the piano, I can't draw, I can't eat properly without trying really hard. I don't know what that means. Like the fork misses my mouth.
Just, I refer back to my fingers.
Take
grabbing the mashed potatoes with my sandwich
Just
clamps.
pawing it. I can't even really curtsy without losing my balance. My name is Matilda Eileen Richard, and my story begins when I was 17 years old. Ever since I was young, if I started talking, I would have a hard time stopping. It seemed to be the only thing I was good at, talking. My mother always said, "Why can't you do something ladylike or useful, Tilly? Why don't you try singing like Stacy or drawing as Lucy does?" Stacy and Lucy were my older sisters. One day, Stacy found me in the garden alone talking to my horse, as I always do. She said, "You should stop talking to that horse or she'll lose the other ear as well." Then she went away laughing her pig-resembled laugh. Savage. Just said, hey, we hate Stacy.
Very rude.
Stacy sucks, is what I'm obviously establishing here. It is true that my horse only has one ear, but it was not from me talking to him too much. It was from her former abusive owner, who had cut Blossom's left ear off when he was drunk. Rough. Okay, basically I go on and describe everybody in the family, which really isn't necessary because what I want to get is to the good stuff. But what we've established is
Stacy sucks at life.
Stacy sucks. Mama is cold and unattached. Blah, 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 blah,
Like
blah, blah, blah.
Cold and detached?
Yes.
Detached?
Detached. I say unattached?
Yeah.
Detached. She just unattached from the earth. Gravity didn't apply. I think it's obvious that at the time when I wrote this, I read so many Christian romance novels, but I also was obsessed with Ella Enchanted. And so I think that was more the vibe. It was like the Cinderella, Ella Enchanted vibe I was kind of going for. You've never seen Ella Enchanted?
No, I'm a dude.
Okay, on one of his visits, King Arton brought his son, Prince Kenneth, with him to see his future kingdom. My family, being one of the dukes, was one of the first places the king and prince visited. My goodness, I'd never seen my sisters flirting so much in my entire life. The picture was the prince, sitting on the side of the drawing room, surrounded by my two sisters, and then me sitting a good distance away, but not too far to hear the conversation. It went something like this.
Am I going to be the prince?
Yes. Why don't you bring your chair over here and then we'll just go right in with it. Everybody give David a big round of applause in the comments for being game enough to help me with this. Anything that's blue, you just read and we'll do this and we're gonna, and again, this deserves the respect of art.
Right.
I don't know how I'm supposed to pronounce this. I made up some kingdom name. I think it's Generisa? I don't know, but that's the name I came up with at 13 for this kingdom. So, Stacy started with, How do you find Janorisa, your highness?
Much above my expectations, lady.
You may call me Stacy, she smiled and batted her eyes.
Well then, Stacy, are you the oldest in your family?
Yes, and I am the second born, Lucy butted in.
And what is your name, pray tell?
Lucy, your highness. Hold your tongue, Lucy, Stacy said, and go sit over there. Stacy gave a big puff and then put on her big smile and said again, how big is your castle, your highness?
Wow.
Pretty big.
Have you ever had a ball there?
Not lately, but my father is giving one at the end of the month.
Stacy and Lucy gave gasps of joy.
Pride and Prejudice.
I had to stifle a laugh at their jubilee. Then the prince noticed me.
Oh, excuse me. I didn't notice you were here.
Yes, my lord, I am Matilda, but you may call me Tilly, I replied quietly.
And you may call me Ken, he said, smiling.
Both my sisters gave me cold stares. Then Lucy grabbed his hand and, still glaring at me, said, you know how rude and annoying third-borns are. Well, Kenny, do you want a drink? Said Lucy in her hostess voice. Meanwhile, I was thinking, Kenny? She called him Kenny? Pause for a second. That is from, I have no clue what this is from. I know this is from like a romance book or a YA novel of some kind. Maybe it's like Ron and Hermione and Harry Potter. I don't know. But there's like a specific thing where like someone's like, oh my gosh, like she just called him that and I can't remember what that is.
It's just annoying in general. Like
I know, but I feel...
literally would categorize females growing up that would call me like Davy.
Ooh. And then Stacy's basically like, Matilda, go get the drink. And then Matilda just does it, because I guess I wrote a pushover as my heroine. By the time I got back with 3 glasses of water, Lucy had pulled her chair so close that it was almost touching his, and Stacy was gazing at him with moon eyes. It took all my might not to drop the water I was carrying. Then I took a look at the prince, and he looked at me as if he had a bear after him. Give me your best terrified face, babe. He finished his water very quickly and I went outside to the garden. Which really means I just was like, I peaced and I was like, yeah, you can deal with these girls. I was not there for you. I just like left. I picked an apple from the tree and sat down on a bench. About 5 minutes later, the prince came running out of the house, looking down at the ground and panting. Are they too much for you? I asked. He jumped at my voice and then had a shaky laugh.
Are they that bold to all men?
I laughed again and answered that it was most likely because he was a prince. I paused and then added, Stacy's also getting desperate.
Mine would be so much worse if I was 13. Like,
this isn't bad
there's
though,
a
eh?
reason why I literally have no record of anything I've ever written ever. Because I burnt it all.
Yeah, that's fair. Count how many like fields and garden scenes are in this book. By the way, in the 14 pages, there's just a lot of gardens and fields.
All in nature.
Just all the nature.
That's pretty neat.
Okay, here we go. It's the chapter of the ball. This is the reason I actually wanted to film this video, was because of this whole thing. Before I knew it, I was walking into the foyer of the castle, and tons of people were there. A butler took my coat, and I followed my mother into the main ballroom. The first thing I noticed was a long line of people, and Ken greeting them at the end. This is actually pretty like descriptive, right?
It's not bad,
you can
yeah.
get like a visual of where we're at. So basically she finds a friend and then they talk and basically
It's
it's
just like Pride and Prejudice at the ball. Like they find a friend, they start talking shit.
I'm so proud that you know enough about Pride and Prejudice to be able to relate this to Pride and Prejudice. Then I heard a voice behind me.
Will you dance? Will you dance the next with me, Lily? Asked Ken
Quietly. I smiled and said, of course. The prince drew me in among the dancers. And the next thing I knew, I was in Ken's arms. Every girl was watching me enviously, and we were swinging around the dance floor. I was uncomfortable at first, but then I reminded myself that he was probably dancing with me because I didn't swoon at the sight of him. He pulled me closer, and his hold on my waist and hand tightened. My heart began to pound harder, and I felt as if my lungs were beginning to collapse.
He's holding way too tight.
As soon as he released me, I took a few steps back. I thanked him quickly and left to go out to the garden. Garden appearance again.
Chasing those roses again.
On breaking into the night air, I felt 10 times better. Here I could collect my thoughts. Why did the prince seem to be so attracted to me? Boys had never been very attentive to me. Why would the prince of all people take special interest in me? Little Tilly, who should have been a servant girl and was the epic of unladylike. I don't know what that means. I don't know if I meant to be like epitome of unladylike.
Yeah.
I think that was
The epic of
the
unladylike.
epic of unladylike.
Like the grammar.
The grammar of unladylike. I finally forced myself to answer the question I had been swerving. Was I falling fast for him? I barely knew anything about him. Only that he enjoyed a good conversation, and I guess that he didn't like being in line to the throne. That has not been established anywhere in this book.
Oh.
Anywhere, but we're going with it. But then I heard a familiar voice, Stacy's. I quickly ducked behind a bush, blah, blah. Then basically I hear her talking about stuff. Ken comes in, and he's like asking where Matilda is, and then Stacy's trying to be like, oh, she's like stupid. You don't want to talk to her. She's the plain Jane of the family. And then I come up from the bush. I heard my name mentioned. I tried to look oblivious.
Yes, I was looking for you. Can we talk inside?
Do it again, but do it suggestively.
Okay. Yes, I was looking for you. Can we talk inside?
He told me to meet him in the coat room at 11 o'clock. I, of course, gave him assurance that I would be there, but I wasn't sure what he could need to speak to me about so privately. All I could do was wait the hour until 11. The hour was one of the longest hours of my life to date. After confusion left, nervousness set in. Okay, that's not that bad writing, okay? Again, I'm kind of impressed. He was wearing a phony smile and chatting with 4 or 5 young ladies who were wearing enough feathers and poof to stuff a mattress. I smiled to myself at the thought of the prince liking me more than any of these other girls who so desperately wanted his attention.
Or she's the girl who's like just tucked into the background that he knows he can make out in the coat room and no one's gonna believe her anyway, so she's the easy, like,
That's
easy
terrible!
prey.
I would never have written
Ken might just be a psychopath.
No! Babe, the respect for the literature, what was I talking about?
Right.
Respect the literature.
Respect the literature.
I waited and waited. After 10 minutes of standing, waiting for him, I decided to leave. I turned quickly, feeling rejected, and collided with Ken. I felt his strong arms come around me.
Steady there. He whispered into my ear.
Sending shivers up my spine.
Ooh. Am I
It's you,
still
you're blue.
whispering?
You're the blue.
Am I still whispering?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, he told me very quietly, so yeah, you are.
I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. I couldn't get away from the flock of young ladies all begging to dance. That's a weird flex. You told me very quietly.
Weird flex, but okay.
Weird flex, but okay.
I shyly looked up into his deep blue eyes that were very close. His gaze fell to my lips, and his own parted slightly. Something went off in the back of my brain that I wasn't ready for this, that this kiss, which was seconds away, shouldn't happen. The sensation was so strong, I gathered every bit of the wits I had and stepped difficultly out of his embrace.
Oh, difficulty.
Oh, difficulty! I'm sorry, Ken. I'm just not ready yet, I think. Then I remembered why we were there. You had something to say to me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to.
This is like the kid.
maybe-
Did you ever have a dream when
Let me ask your father permission to court you?
It was all too much. The joy in my heart welled up and tears were brought to my eyes. The Prince of Generisa wanted to court me. Matilda, Eileen Richard. Not some haughty young woman with loads of money and jewels, but me. He cleared his throat. I asked if something was wrong.
Nothing, milady. Only that if you want me not to kiss you, I would suggest not looking at me in the way you just did. We could have some problems.
Literature, babe, the respect.
Yeah, sorry.
I felt my cheeks redden at his speech. In my heart, I wanted his kiss fiercely. I quietly and slowly stepped closer and closer to him until my toes were grazing his. Oh, you need your toes,
You
babe.
need to graze toes.
Grazed toes.
Okay.
Okay, they're grazed, people.
Why are they barefoot?
Those crystal blue eyes pierced my very soul. How could such perfect eyes exist? His left arm came around my waist and pulled me tight against his chest. I draped my demon.
I'm trying to put you against my chest.
I didn't even want to read. I draped my arms.
You wrote this. You have to live with it.
I don't know if I can read this. Oh my god. I don't know if I can read this on my channel. I can't believe I was 13 when I wrote this. enjoying the sensations that were washing over me. Then with his right hand, Ken traced a path from my temple, down my cheek, around my neck, and into the nape, and into the hair at the nape of my neck.
Like that?
That's kind of romantic, just like a...
Just all smooth like.
Good.
Like a prince?
13-year-old Katie knew the moves. His fiery gaze went from my green eyes to my red lips. Angling his face. I don't know if I can read this. Angling his face, his warm lip met my own in a feathery soft kiss, igniting fire in my stomach. My fingers drove into his hair, and I kissed him back with everything I felt. I heard him moan delightedly.
I don't know if I can do that. I don't.
Please don't. Please don't. I heard him moan delightedly
I can't moan delightedly. I don't know what that means.
as his smooth lips moved over mine. We were both breathless by the time I pulled back and just stared at one
Just
another.
held her breath the whole time.
I wasn't
You
ready.
pull back, you go. That was pretty dope. Did you feel the magic? I felt magic. Did you feel the magic?
I think they all felt the magic. How long we remained in one another's locked embrace, I did not know. But one thing I do know, I was definitely in love with the Prince of Generisia.
This 13-year-old you would not have a girl kiss a guy without being in love.
No.
Yeah.
Suddenly remembering that he was supposed to be attending his guests, Ken released me.
Even though I would rather spend the rest of my evening with you, Lily Love.
Tilly.
Tilly Love. Dyslexia. I must return to the party. I just want you to know how I feel. You whispered. I just want you to know how I feel. I'm Batman.
Of course you must go. I do not wish to hinder you in your duties. I smiled at the generous man in front of me. He smiled back, and we shared a look that meant we knew something no one else did. We just
Jeez.
made out.
He's generous.
He turned to leave, but just before he left the room, I realized something. Ken! I called, rushing towards him. He turned around to see what the matter was. Your hair is, a little messed up, I said. Reaching up, I smoothed back the locks that had been unleashed while we had kissed. As soon as he left, I threw my head back and spun around, my silk gown billowing out accordingly. I giggled and smiled. So, okay, basically after that happens, I returned to the ballroom. I basically just made googly eyes at him. He flirts with me a little bit with his eyes. The book ends with me writing like, okay, chapter 5, like starting the next chapter, but it's like a paragraph. I walked through the lovely little forest where I played as a girl, went by the old streams where I'd splashed around, and I sat on a moss-covered rock where I used to read, trying to block out my boring life. So apparently somewhere between making out in a coat room and then like getting home the next day, my life has become boring. Right. It was when I was completely lost. And
Dun dun dun.
then I didn't finish it. I wrote a lot of lead up. I fleshed out like every character just to get to the ball.
You just wanted to write out a makeout scene.
Well, 13-year-old Katie had some hormones and emotions she was dealing with, and she needed an outlet. By writing that scene, I was like accomplishing some feeling I felt the need to like deal with. And then as soon as that was done, I was done. My creative energy for these characters did not have any motivation to continue.
I was thirsty, I took a drink, now I'm moving on.
You know-
Whatever gets you through puberty.
Puberty sucks. I'm very glad it was that and not like, you know, looking at weird things online. Like, this was so much safer of an outlet. So, you know, I'm happy about it. But here's the thing. I almost didn't know if I could read that on the channel because that is like a well-written kiss scene. Literally over 6 years before I'm ever gonna experience my first kiss, and I knew how to write a kissing scene like that. Which, you might not have caught it because we were laughing so hard, but this was really well written. Which is hilarious because it just shows I had read so many books with kissing scenes.
You could just produce one.
I could produce one.
That's
Like,
hilarious.
I knew nothing about it for myself. David, thank you for taking a journey along this literature with me.
It was the time.
Yeah, if you would like, you don't need to be on camera anymore if you would like, if you would. But you can stay if you'd like.
I'm good.
You're gonna stay?
No, I'm gonna go.
Okay. Alright, everybody, give David some love in the comments, because He's such a good sport to help me with this. Thanks, babe. I really hope you guys enjoyed this experience as much as I did. And I really do want to say, if this video sparks any memories for any of you of like, oh my goodness, like I wrote this poem when I was 11, or I wrote this novel book thing when I was 13 as well, and now I have to go find it. Like, if you find old files of cringy writings when you were a kid, please send me screenshots of something. I just think this is so funny, and if we can all go and look back at old things, that would just be such a fun thing for all of us to do this summer, okay? So again, please DM me. Until the next time I see you guys, have a great life. I can't believe I just shared this with thousands of people on the internet. Oh my gosh. Have a great life. Don't be stupid or make bad decisions. Bye, guys.